The resource reservation service, it is used for reserve computing resources. PL is a layer, it is going to separate the infrastructure and the middleware, that is Aneka container. So Aneka consists of several components for failure and resiliency of jobs. There are chances of complexity for administering the cloud services with different platform and different application. Dear students, welcome to Computer Science classes. I am Ravi Kumar Kyar, lecturer in Computer Science, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. Students, let us start our discussion with the concept Aneka platform. So in this session, we are going to discuss about the Aneka framework and components of Aneka container or Aneka framework. In our previous session, we had discussed about the Aneka architecture or a framework along with the two more components, that is application and management services and also infrastructure services or infrastructure layer. Now, in this session, let us talk about the Aneka framework. What is this Aneka framework? As we have seen in our previous session, Aneka framework is a middleware. It is a middleware. It deployed over the infrastructure of Aneka architecture. Then here, this Aneka container, we say Aneka container, it features three different classes of services. So it's going to provide different types of services under three classes or under different heading. So first one is fabric services, foundation services, and execution services. So in this session, let us discuss about the different functions or different components of all these services or category. First one is, if you remember the diagram or schematic diagram of Aneka architecture, the first service in the Aneka framework is application service or execution services. So what is it? So application service take care of applications management and execution respectively. One of the function of application service is to take care of applications management as well as execution. Second one is sub-services in Aneka are many, but they are more generalized services built on top of the core infrastructure to support specialized needs of different types of applications. So this is the main service of application services, and apart from that, as it is deployed over infrastructure, so other than this, it is going to provide different types of services to the users. They represent typical application template or scenario to help to promote applications assembly. So this application services, it contains this a templates. So it have many templates, so that is going to promote application assembly. So the main function of this application service is to manage and execution of different types of application for the clients or the users. In the next slide, we will see what are different tools or components of application services. Under this, we have distributed threads, mapped reduce, backup task, and PSM. So now let us see what is a distributed threads. Now all of you know what are threads in programming concepts. It is nothing but a small program or maybe a sub-program. So Aneka threads are designed to behave similarly to standard threads, offering familiar API for developers. So you know what is the definition of thread. It is a small program or it may be a sub-program. So this Aneka thread is going to help API for developers, application program interface for developers. And Aneka thread executes in isolation within its own process on potentially different remote machine or cloud instance within the Aneka cloud. So it is going to execute the service in its isolation, or it's going to separate it from other threads, or that is the function of the distributed thread, one of the component. In the next slide, we will see what is MapReduce. Another component is MapReduce. So MapReduce programming. This is a programming model for processing large data sets in a distributed and parallel manner. So MapReduce is a program. So it is nothing but a model, or it is a program. So it's going to help in processing large data sets in distributed applications. And while users do not directly interact with the underlying task management, they define and utilize specific components to leverage MapReduce functionality within the Aneka. The users do not directly interact with the infrastructure or underlying task, under the underlying management or the infrastructure. So it has to be done through this MapReduce, or it is a programming model. So this is MapReduce. Next one is BOT, or bag of tasks. So what is it? See, BOT refers to an application programming model that supports the execution of large number of independent, unconnected, and unordered tasks which can be highly parallelized on the cloud infrastructure. So BOT, or bag of tasks, it is one of the function, or one of the, this is a programming model again. How we have seen in the MapReduce is a programming model. Similarly, bag of tasks is a programming model, is going to help to execute or support the execution of the different types of tasks, independent or unconnected, unordered, on the in the cloud infrastructure. Bag of tasks is used to execute different types of tasks in the Aneka cloud infrastructure. Next one is PSM. We have written the PSM. So it is parameter sweep model. PSM stands for parameter sweep model, which allow users to define a template task and its parameters, streaming the process of launching multiple instances of the application with different input configurations across pool of virtual servers. So PSM, it refers to parameter sweep model. So what is the function of it? So it is going to help the user to work with different templates using different parameters or multiple instances of applications with the different input configuration or different input settings. So this is the function of PSM. So PSM is going to help the user to work with different templates, with the different models, or with different parameter and different instances with different input values. See, that is the function of PSM in Aneka Cloud. Now let us see, next service is foundation services. So first service was application or execution services. Next service is foundation services. So what is foundation services? See, as you move up in the stack, the foundation service rely on fabric layer and provide further enhancement for the development of applications in the distributed environment. So this foundation layer or foundation services, which is on top of the fabric services. So first one is in the Aneka container, and is the middleware. The first one what you have discussed, that is application services or execution services. Next one is foundation services. Below this we are having fabric services. So this is foundation services, which is on top of the stack. It is on the fabric services. So what is the advantage of this? Or it is going to enhance the program development applications for the user. Now they provide basic foundations that are necessary for constructing applications that are portable and elastic. So what is the function of the foundation services? Or is going to help the users or the developers to develop different applications, so which are portable and elastic. The foundation services take care of supporting services for the Aneka cloud. So it is also going to take support, or is going to support different type of services in the Aneka cloud. Now let us see what are the components of this foundation services. So here first one is storage, resource reservation, billing and reporting, licensing and accounting. These are the few components of foundation services. Now let us see what is storage service. So in Aneka, the storage is a core component. It is a core component of foundation services. Is providing centralized data storing facilities for distributed applications. And Aneka Store Service enables dynamic runtime configuration for the file transfer protocol and supports both centralized and distributed storage application. So, what is a storage service? So, in Aneka, storage service is the main component. Is going to provide a centralized data storing services. So, it is a centralized data storing facilities for the different types of applications and also provide dynamic runtime environment or configuration. So, dynamic runtime configuration of file transfer FTP and also for centralized and distributed storage application. See, this is the function of storage, one of the component. Next one is resource reservation. What is the meaning of resource reservation? So, it allows the users to reserve computing resources such as CPU cycles and memory for the exclusive use of their distributed application. So, if I talk about the resource services, the resource reservation service, it is used for reserve computing resources. So, this is a computing resources that can be reserved. So, which are the computing resources? It can be like CPU or memory and so on. It is for different applications. So, resource reservation is going to reserve resources for distributed applications. That is resource reservation. In the next slide, next one is billing and reporting. So, what is billing and reporting? Billing and reporting are managed by the accounting service and reporting services. So, billing and account reporting are managed by accounting and reporting services, which is a part of foundation services. It provides accounting features for the cloud applications. These services track resources, usage, and associated costs, offering detailed information on resource consumption and application execution for budgeting and monitoring purpose. As all of you know that this Aneka cloud service, it is a paid service, it is pay and use service. So once it is a pay and use service, definitely there should be an option for tracking of different number of users, different types of users and utilization of different types of resources and their computing time and so on. So all these activities can be done at a component billing and reporting. So what is the main function of this? The main function is going to have a track of cloud applications. So the applications provided by the service provider and who are all using it, how many customers are there, what is their usage, what is their consumption in terms of resources. Everything is going to keep track of with the help of billing and reporting, and is going to have a track of resource usage and associated cost. This is nothing for billing, and also detailed information on resource consumption means the amount of data or the amount of resources which are consumed by the different users, and application execution for budgeting and monitoring purpose. So this is the main function of billing and reporting component under foundation services. In the next slide, we will see licensing and accounting. It is one of the component. So licensing service, it controls resources usage by verifying containers against the system's license, preventing misuse and restricting the numbers of resources for a given deployment. So this is licensing part of it. As all of you know that the license services means one has to agree the terms and condition of the service provider. Accordingly, is going to maintain their accounts. So the licensing services means is going to check or is going to verify the users and for what type of services they have taken and what is their consumption and all the details and what is the advantage of that. So it's going to prevent misuse and it is going to provide misuse of resources from the users and restricting the users or number of resources for a given deployment. So any customer, any type of customers, you can have number of resources as a service. So all these are going to check or checked at the licensing part of the service. Next one is the accounting service. The accounting service, on the other hand, tracks applications usage, reservations, and user activity, providing detailed information necessary for resource management and their billing within the Aneka cloud. See, this is as we have seen in the previous slide about this accounting, billing and reporting. So it is almost same. It's going to keep track of the clients and their resources, the applications, the services utilized, and resource utilization, everything is going to maintain that accounting services. So this is another function of functions or a tool under licensing and accounting. Next, we move on to next service, that is fabric services. So another type of service in the Aneka framework is fabric services. See, what is fabric services? See, it takes care of infrastructure management for Aneka cloud. If you look at the schematic diagram, Aneka computing structure. So here the bottom layer is infrastructure. The Aneka middleware is deployed or installed on the infrastructure. So this fabric services is the component which is at the bottom of the Aneka container or the middleware. So this fabric services is directly interact with the infrastructure because over the infrastructure these containers are deployed or implemented. So it defines the lowest level of the software stack representing the Aneka container. So if I say the lowest level, nothing but it is at the bottom of the Aneka container. This is the third level. First we have seen in the diagram application or execution services. Next, foundation services. Next one is fabric services. So that is the meaning of lowest level of the software stack. They provide access to resources and provisioning subsystems to the monitoring facilities implemented in Aneka. So it's going to provide resource provisioning facility. So through this fabric services, the resources at the infrastructure can be utilized or connected through PAL. So now under fabric services, we have different components. So one is high availability, resource provisioning, hardware profiling, and membership. Now let us see the definition of high availability. What is high availability? So these components ensure that the distributed infrastructure composed of physical and virtualized cloud services managed by Aneka containers remain functional and reliable by automatically detecting and responding to failures, maintaining the consistent view of the network and efficiently allocating resources for application execution. So this is the definition of or meaning of high availability. Actually, if you look at the infrastructure, so this infrastructure, the infrastructure of the Aneka cloud, it consists of or it is composed of different types of physical resources and virtualized cloud resources. This physical resource and virtualized cloud services are resources which make up the infrastructure. So, and this infrastructure is managed by Aneka containers. This is what we are discussing now, Aneka containers. And this Aneka container, so this entire services or the infrastructure, all the services of Aneka cloud will be available to the user through this infrastructure and which remains functional and reliable by automatically detecting and responding to the failure. So what is the meaning of high availability? In case of failure of any of the resources, immediately it will be detected automatically. So any failure are detected automatically and it will respond to rectify the services or to restore the services so that to avoid any losses to the users or the clients, and is going to maintain the constant view of the network, means is going to keep monitoring the network. So in case of any problem at any part of it, is going to automatically detect it and will be try to rectify it, and efficiently allocating resources for application execution. So in other words, if at all any failures with one of the component, and immediately is going to allocate resources immediately for the applications, so that the users or the client should not have any problem for accessing these resources. So that is the definition of high availability, or we can say, in other words, a fault tolerance. In the next one, resource provisioning. So what is resource provisioning? You know what are resources? So resource provisioning service are the charge of dynamically providing new nodes on demand by relying on virtualization technology. So what is the meaning of this? The resource provisioning means if at all any clients or the users are required one more node immediately, so it can be allocated dynamically. So dynamically, a resources can be allocated to the users as per their requirement through virtualization technology. Now, fabric services are to provide computational assets such as virtual machines, containers, or otherwise deploying bare metal hardware. So, what is the function of fabric services? Is going to provide computational assets, means the resources for computation. Maybe it can be memory or CPU and so on, and also virtual machines, and also this containers, Aneka containers, and other services for the users. In the next slide, we will see next one is hardware profiling. One of the component is hardware profiling. So hardware profiling within its fabric services involves using the platform abstraction layer, that is PAL, what we have discussed in the previous session. So PAL is a layer, it is going to separate the infrastructure and the middleware, that is Aneka container, to collect the information about node capabilities and performance. This data including details on memory, CPU and the disk. So another function of PAL, it can be, it going to collect the information, is going to collect the information about the node capabilities and performance, and it is with respect to the infrastructure. So because infrastructure layer, the Aneka in the Aneka architecture, the bottom is the infrastructure. So over it we have PAL, it is platform abstraction layer. So it is an interface between the infrastructure as well as Aneka container or Aneka middleware. So this is hardware profiling. Next component is membership. See what is a membership? So it is a component of Aneka cloud platform, and it is not a standalone service for user to join. So if I say membership, it doesn't mean that all the users can join this group or to become a member of this Aneka cloud. So it is not the concept of membership to the or to join this membership. It is the user access these services through the Aneka cloud framework itself to manage cloud infrastructure, provision resources like virtual machines, and monitor hardware. Here, this is nothing but the membership service. It is used to manage the cloud infrastructure and resources like virtual machines and monitoring the hardware. And it is not just to join the group. Now, you would interact with these services through the Aneka Cloud or SDK or the Aneka Cloud Management Console to build and deploy cloud application. So this is the definition of membership. Here, the users can interact with these services. See, that is the meaning of membership. So if I say the membership, it contains the Aneka Cloud contains different types of hardware as well infrastructure and virtual machines and so on. So here, any user can contact or connect or communicate with these services for different applications or to improve their performance for development and so on. through this SDK or API. That is the definition of membership. So far we have discussed about the Aneka framework and different components of or different services of Aneka framework. Now let us say in general what are the advantages of Aneka in cloud computing. It is in general we are talking about the advantages and disadvantages of Aneka cloud or cloud computing services. So advantages include scalability. So the meaning of scalability is applications can scale to as far as the required workload as envisaged. So the applications can be scalable. If I say scalable, it makes sure that are being used to their full benefit. The meaning of the word scalable is, see, any applications are used by the scalability is the usage of applications by the users or by the client to the maximum extent or to get the full benefit of the resources or the services from the cloud. So that is the definition of scalability. The scalability is it can scale to as far as the required workload as envisaged. The meaning is, so here the applications can be scaled down or it can be scaled up to the requirement of the customer. That is the meaning of scalability. And also it makes sure that cloud platforms are being used to their full benefit. So that is the definition of scalability. So here any applications or services for the users can be scalable or it can be scaled up or scaled down according to their requirement, and they can be used effectively or they can get full benefit of these services. Next one is flexibility. So this Aneka supports software developers to execute broad range of different types of applications according to their requirement or as per their needs. So what is flexibility? In the sense the developers or software developers can develop or they can execute a wide range of or different types of applications with a different platform in their services in the Aneka cloud computing services. Then cost efficiency. What is cost efficiency? So it has the potential to minimize the overall cost in the form of infrastructure. Actually, the users or the clients did not to invest much on the infrastructure for their services because all these are provided by the Aneka cloud service provider. So as they are going to provide even infrastructure as a service. So here the users or for the clients, they need not to invest much on the infrastructure and they can make use of the resource utilization effectively with respect to their applications or services. Ease of development. Aneka is the creation of distributed applications and to offer high level framework tools and libraries. So it's going to help the developers for easy development of their applications at high level framework or with the help of different tools and libraries of Aneka cloud services. Next one is portability. What is portability? Aneka applications are independent of the specific cloud platform and infrastructure software. So it works on public, private or hybrid cloud services or environment without requiring additional modifications and thus provide contractual freedom. So what do you mean of portability? So Aneka is going to work on independent. It is independent of the cloud platform and also about the infrastructure software. And as it is going to provide public, private and hybrid cloud services. So any services we can move from public to private, private to hybrid, there won't be having any problem. That is the meaning of portability. So here any applications or Aneka applications can be moved from one platform to another platform without having any problem. That is portability. Next one is reliability and fault tolerance. So Aneka consists of several components for failure and resiliency of jobs. The users can rely on these Aneka cloud services as they have many components for fault tolerance, as we have seen in the previous slide. So fault tolerance are nothing but high availability. So here it makes sure that all the resources are available to the users at different level for their usage without having any problem. In case of any failure of the services from the provider, immediately they have a mechanism or they have a component to detect it and resume the services immediately. That is the reliability and fault tolerance. Next one is monitoring and management. Monitoring and management tools for assessing the performance of the applications that are hosted in it, consumption rates of the resources, as well as general health of the system. What is monitoring and management? So monitoring is nothing but is going to assess or is going to monitor the different services and performance of different applications which are hosted on Aneka cloud services, and also consumption rate of the applications or consumption rate of resources from the service provider or from the clients or from the users. That is monitoring and management. After the advantages, now let us see what are the disadvantages or drawbacks of this cloud computing. First point is complexity. See, what is complexity? Due to distributed computing environment utilized by Aneka, developers who wish to maximize the platform should know the distributed computing concepts and pattern. The meaning of complexity is the users or one who uses the cloud application services from this from Aneka cloud service provider, they should have a knowledge of different platform, or they should be knowing the different platform with different services with respect to different hardware to work with this Aneka cloud services. Integration challenges. Second one is integration challenges. It may be challenging to integrate with other structures, applications, and services. So integration with other platform, other services, other applications may be a problem with this service. And resource overload. While Aneka's runtime environment and middleware components can be benefited for the management, delivery of computation resources, they may also cause additional overhead, could potentially slow down applications, performance, or even they raise the amount of resources required. So, what is resource overhead? Even though these the middleware, the different services or infrastructure of the Aneka cloud are beneficial to the user to the maximum extent, but still there are chances of resource overhead. Resource overhead in the sense the maximum utilization of the resources. So in that case, they may have to add or they may have to change the infrastructure. The service provider has to modify the infrastructure to the need of the customers. So resource overhead is the maximum utilization of the resources may cause the application for performance, or it may slow down the application's performance. That is the resource overhead. Next one is vendor lock-in. Another disadvantage is vendor lock-in. So it has an advantage of portability across the various cloud platform and services, but constraints the qualities may lock one to another platform. So as we have seen in the previous slide about advantages, one of the point is portability. As I told you just now, that it is plausible to move from the services from one to another platform in Aneka cloud services. But though there is an advantage, but there is a chances of the drawback, that is vendor lock-in, in terms of the qualities and lock one into certain platform. So there might be restrictions from one to another services while moving from one platform to another platform. Next point is the difficulty is that some users may even face problems simply when trying to move existing Aneka applications to different cloud providers, or when trying to new technologies or the platform. So this is the main concern here. So any users or any clients, if they wish to move from Aneka cloud to some other providers, in that way they may have the problem with the qualities and the lock in one or the other platform. That is the meaning of vendor lock-in. Next point is maintenance overload. What is this? So the active maintenance activity like updates, securing the software vulnerability, as well as fine tuning. It may prove be overburden to administration or to the administrator groups. And also performance bottleneck means at some time the resource utilization, scheduling, or communication strategies of Aneka may become an issue and slow down the application. So, what is the maintenance override? There are chances of complexity for administering the cloud services with different platform and different application, and also because of many issues there are chances of slow down the applications or slow down the services. That is maintenance and overhead. So dear students, so far in this session we have discussed about the Aneka container. Under that, the components of or different services or different category of services of Aneka container or Aneka framework. And along with that, in general, we have discussed about the different advantages and disadvantages of Aneka cloud services. Let us continue our discussion in my next session. Thank you so much.